Today's episode of The Sit Down with Scott Dion Brown is brought to you by Jennifer C. at HomeLifeCultureLink.com, Nino Simeka at MortgageGodfather.ca, and Jewelry Forever at JewelryForever.ca. Enjoy the show.
Broadcasting live from Glenmore Record Studios in Toronto, this is The Sit Down with Scott Dion Brown, your Sunday morning talk show with interesting guests, live musical performances, and the most fun you can fit in your coffee cup. Hosted by Scott Dion Brown and Regine Alaina, this is The Sit Down with Scott Dion Brown.
Oh, what a beautiful morning.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of all ages. Hello. Oh, good morning, Death Shot. Good morning to all, he says in the stream. Hello. Welcome. Welcome to episode 84 of The Sit Down with Scott Dion Brown, and I'm your host, the one, the only, Scott Dion Brown, and I'm joined by the greatest co-host in all the galaxy, the one, the only,
Regine Alaina. Happy Sunday, everyone, and of course, happy Father's Day to all of our fathers and, father figures joining us today.
That's right. It's Father's Day here. Well, I was going to say here in Toronto, but I guess it's Father's Day all over the place, right? It's pretty much Father's Day everywhere. I don't know how if it changes throughout the world. But.
I think certain countries, because I know the UK and Ireland, their Mother's Day is different. So I don't know about their Father's Day.
Interesting. Okay, well maybe it is. Anyway, everybody, whoever to all the dads across the land who are celebrating Father's Day today. Happy Father's Day. Happy Father's Day. And to my own dad, morning Pa, happy Father's Day. I'm
sure he's watching too, so happy Father's Day, Mr. Brown.
Yeah.
While he's sitting at the pool, enjoying his coffee.
He probably is. I'm gonna go up and visit him later today. I'm still gonna social distance, but I am gonna go by and see him.
Nice.
Yes. Regine, how was your week?
It was good. I've completed week 1 of that 2-week ab workout challenge, so pretty good. And what else did I do this week? I did a photo shoot with Galaxy Canada, so I'm excited for you guys to see the project that we're currently working on, and just staying home. How about you, Scott?
About the same. I saw you. I remember we talked about your workout last week, and then you sent me the video.
Did you do it?
I did not. I have not done it. I have not done it. No.
You could have been halfway through it if you actually started when I sent it to you last week.
I could have been. It's true. One day. I will. I do want to get it to the workout. Deathshot says, another day, another sit down. Ranked number 1 co-host. So true.
Aww, true. Thank you.
Giving my father just some father-son time. I kind of forgot that was today. Well, I'm glad we could remind you. Glad we could remind you there, Deathshot. Yep. They Hate Tracks. Hello. Good morning. Welcome to the stream. It's The Sit Down with Scott Dion Brown, and we're just getting things started. Well, Regine, why don't we introduce our guest and find out what he's been up to?
Yes, let's do it.
All right. Well, I've got a bio here. Our guest today is a multiple award-winning actor, writer, and director.
Damn.
He's a graduate of the Samuel Beckett Theatre School of Trinity College in Dublin, Ireland, and was born and raised in Denmark, and he is now an American citizen. As an actor, he's appeared in several TV shows, such as Blue Bloods on CBS, Limitless on CBS, The Blacklist on NBC, Elementary on NBC, as well as feature films such as The Black Room, Art of the Dead, and In Montauk. As a writer,
he makes you sound so bad.
He's accomplished many things, Regine. As a writer, he was the winner of the Cinestory Fellowship and is placed in the semifinals of the Nichols Fellowship competition 3 times. His LGBT feature-length screenplay, The Mechanic, has been optioned by director-producer Charlie Stratton, and his horror screenplay, Silhouette, is under option agreement with Emergence Pictures, and his TV pilot, Galapagos, won the Shore Fund script competition. And finally, as a director, he took his sci-fi script Into the Dark and created a successful short film, and went on to screen in over 70 film festivals worldwide.
Holy smoke.
Yes, indeed. In 2017, he directed his second short film, The Son, the Father, which world premiered at the Chinese Theater Cinema in Los Angeles as part of the Holly Shorts Film Festival, and he currently lives in Chelsea, New York City. Chelsea, New York City. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the sit down, Lukas Hassel.
Good morning, everybody, from New York City, Chelsea, in New York City.
Chelsea, New York. That's how it is. That's how they say it.
I kind of like it.
Yeah.
It's a Toronto twist, sorry.
Yeah, exactly. So, how are you? How are you doing?
I'm good. I've already been out to my local Starbucks, so I'm all coffeeed up and ready to go. I'm excited to chat with you guys.
Wonderful. Yeah, it's.
I got my coffee.
Oh yeah, are you using your sit down mug? Oh, good. Perfect.
See, you didn't send me one, so I'm just doing a shameless plug for Starbucks.
Yeah.
Okay.
The office away from home, so yeah.
Yep. Yeah, we have we usually have a bunch of mugs up at the other where we used to do the show, or will do the show again. We have a whole set of them so that every guest can have one. But when we started doing them now, we're all at our homes. I went up and I did pick up. So I grabbed one for myself, and then I think was it only last week, Regine, where I was like,
yeah,
okay, I'm
he
gonna
forgot about me.
Yeah.
So rude.
Well, no, especially during this quarantine, we were trying to minimize contact, but I finally was like, okay, Regine, I'm coming by. I'm just going to drop off a mug at your house. That way, at least we both have some.
He literally just dropped it off. He's like, hey, bye.
Yeah.
Like, okay, bye.
Safety first.
Right. Exactly. In these days, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's a crazy time.
Yes, it is.
I can only imagine how crazy it must have been in New York. And
yeah, I mean, everybody was reaching out to me in the beginning, going, "What's the state of New York?" Because of course that seemed to be the main focal point in the U.S. at least of COVID, and it was really strange for many months of having an otherwise very noisy and busy city be completely silent outside. I'm used to hearing sirens, I'm used to hearing car honking, people arguing in the street occasionally or whatever. And it was just empty. People were really good at respecting the advice of Andrew Cuomo and stayed inside. So I think now that we're sort of, at least for now, the numbers are way down, I think it's a great result of New York leadership here, and then everybody taking it seriously. I mean, New Yorkers don't mess about. So It's only now that it's beginning. You see people emerging and sort of gathering here and there, but still everybody pretty much wears a mask and respects each other's choices. So I think New York is great that way. But in the beginning, it was really terrifying. I mean, you had no idea what the deal was. And now almost 3.5, 4 months later, we still don't know if it's over yet or not. And so we're bracing ourselves, and we're in for the long haul if needs be.
that's crazy. Are you guys, because here in Toronto or in Ontario, we're opening up in different phases. Is New York doing the same thing?
It is. I mean, just as I said this morning, I went to Starbucks and I could actually enter the store now. You still can't sit down. The tables are gone. Mm-hmm. But just 3 weeks ago, you could only get to the front door and there'd be somebody there. And then 3 weeks before that, they were just closed. So you gradually get a sense that people are beginning to get their lives back. And of course, people are eager to go out and hang out with their friends. But you still have to be careful because we're just, a few incidents away from a rebound of this, disease.
The second wave.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's what they're talking about, trying to avoid now. Yeah. Have they done any interesting things like here in Toronto? I remember. So we have a park here called Trinity Bellwoods Park, and there was a big problem at one point where one weekend it was really nice and a whole bunch of people came out in a huge crowd, and everyone was saying, oh, you shouldn't be doing that. And then what they did was, to fix that, is the city spray painted a whole bunch of circles all across the grass, all of them 6 feet apart, so that anybody who wanted to go to the park, they would have their own little circle. So have stuff like that been happening in New York as well, or?
That exact thing they've done down along the Hudson River. You have various beautiful parks they've built out there, and that's usually in the summer. That's packed with people. And I go running there almost every day. And just this week, I noticed they've done exactly what you just described. White circles so people can sit in their own little
Bubble.
groupings and their bubbles, and they're respecting it, you know. And I happened to see the other day that, of course, people are bringing their rosé and their booze bags.
Yum.
And the park wardens are not having it. So I saw people getting caught and they had to toss out their wine and stuff. They're not allowing, you know, any of that right now. I guess it's to avoid, you know, people losing it or whatever. But they're definitely maintaining the distance part.
And things are slowly starting to come back. Yeah, that's the thing. It's been a really crazy time. But what's something that you found? Did you, I don't know, either discover something or rediscover something about yourself living through this, like having to change your lifestyle? Was there anything about that you found out about yourself while you were going through this?
I mean, yeah, definitely. I mean, both positive and negative, I have to say. You know, I've always prided myself with being a relatively diligent and focused hard worker in any field I take on. And I have to say, for the first 2.5 months of this, I was really struggling to get much done of anything. You know, Starbucks is my office away from home, so I would literally go to Starbucks with my laptop and sort of place myself in my corner, get my coffee, and that would be my sort of energy for the next 4 or 5 hours. I'd sit there and I'd work with my headphones on, and working from home just never worked for me. So suddenly being placed at home, you know, I was proven right. I just wasn't that productive, and I was kind of shocked at how I could fall into that category of just not doing much. And it was tough to be creative. It was tough to get motivated. You know, there's always that couch over there with the gnat waiting, or there was some candies to be crushed, or stupid stuff. And so thankfully thankfully I had these projects that were done, but I was still talking to other people about them. I had to sort of rewrite bits and pieces, so I could sort of con myself into feeling I was still being productive, but I wasn't really producing anything major. I was just sort of patchworking what was already there that needed to be fixed. So I was doing stuff, just not as much as I thought I was going to be able to. So that was a sort of a disappointing discovery, to get back to your question. But the positive part of it is that I also discovered the sort of the pleasure of actually connecting with people live, because I had fallen into this notion of sort of texting is so much more convenient, right? Because it happens on your own dime, it happens on your own time, and you can just, you know, send a text and get a text back. And I was sort of getting reticent. What is the word I'm looking for? Reticent to connect with people on the phone, just because then you're stuck for 20 minutes talking to people that you might only have 5 minutes in you. So being in this time where you don't connect with people at all, I would do this stupid sort of program that I called 20 questions, 5 minutes, one naked guy in a closet, where I just ask fellow artists or friends of mine, anyone really, stupid questions from my closet. And it would entail calling them up on FaceTime or Messenger, whatever, and then record our conversation. And I would have, apart from the stupid questions, I would have a meaningful conversation with these people that I haven't spoken to since last film festival a year ago, or even a year and a half ago. And suddenly, you know, I'd spend some extra time, and that was really rewarding. That's been really great, actually, to just connect with people face to face, where I might have commented on their post on Facebook or something, before. So this has been sort of a positive spin that I've managed to reconnect with a lot of people.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought up your the talk show 20 question 5 minutes, one naked guy in a closet, because that was on my list of things to ask. It's his talk show that he does on Instagram, and you said you've done before we started. You said you've done over 50 episodes already, or
yeah, I'm about to post, I think, number 58.
Wow.
So do you do one like every day, or do you do it?
So in the beginning, pretty much up until episode 55, I did one every day. So one for 55 days. And then I went away to see my sister and her family up in Madison, and we took the car and went to Yellowstone for 10 days. So that sort of literally just 2 weeks ago, it gave me a break. And I was like, well, I'm not going to be able to do that. So now that I've come back, I think I'm going to post maybe 2 a week or something, because it's a lot to edit, and it's, you know, it was just meant to be a bit of fun. It wasn't really meant to be something that was going to take over
Your
time
life.
away from writing or anything. And it kind of becomes that a little bit, because it is a little bit of an effort to even set up the interview and then to edit it down afterwards and upload it and put it on. And so I've had a lot of fun with it, and I'm going to go to at least episode 100,
Nice.
but I'm just going to slow down the pace, I think, a little bit. And also, people don't need it as much because people are getting out now. When people were stuck inside with the COVID-19, you know, it was a welcome relief for a lot of people, but, you know, now people are busy with their own stuff anyway. So I think it's just going to peter out eventually.
Aw.
Well, so what came up? How'd you come up with the idea of being the naked guy in the closet? Where did that come from?
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Well, you know, a lot of people are doing these creative projects in this quarantine time, and so somebody had asked me to be part of a project where you had to sing to Frank Sinatra's New York, New York. And they wanted people to do it in different ways, whatever. And so I got this idea that I was stuck in my closet hiding out. It was in the very early days of the quarantine. So I sang my bit from this dark corner of my closet with, you know, sweat beads on my forehead and, you know, start spreading the news and all that stuff. So I would sing it in the closet. And then after that was done, they edited it and it was great. I thought I want to do something different too, where, you know, I wanted to highlight the fact that we're all very different, but we're also incredibly similar, and that we're in this together. And so I came up with this notion of interviewing people, and I thought it needs a hook, right? Because if it's just me sitting on a couch, I'm not sure I'm going to be interesting enough for people to tune in. So I thought, let me use that closet idea, you know, and so it's just a hook. It's just a stupid gimmick. But it's been
it
it's
works.
a lot of it works actually. It's been a lot of fun, and then some guests even are like, I want to be naked too. And so
I did see
like
that,
double
yeah.
naked.
Yeah.
Yeah, both men and women are up for it. Some of them, and I say, listen, there's no pressure to be naked at all. I'm the one doing that, but if you feel comfortable doing it, let's go for it. And maybe there's something to it. Maybe it takes down a barrier, you know, that clothes can bring. Who knows? But yeah, it's been a lot of fun, and it's a fun hook. So.
Nice.
Awesome. So everybody check it out. Oh, what were you gonna say, Regine?
No, go ahead. Finish that.
I was gonna say check out 20 questions, 5 minutes, one naked guy in a closet on Lukas Hassel's Instagram, which is in the description, as well as right underneath his camera right now as he's speaking. Deathshot just says, I miss going to parks, and then in response to the show, he says it seems fun. Yes,
But
it
he does have a question. He has a question for Lucas. He wants to know, is Spider-Man there in New York and in New York City?
That's the real question.
It's a real question.
You know, I'm sure Spider-Man is out there. I am not walking about as much as I used to, so I'm probably just missing him. So I haven't personally seen him. I can't.
Or
vouch
maybe
for him,
he's in self-isolation. Who knows?
Although he has the mask.
He's got a mask.
So,
He does have a
so
mask.
he's doing the right thing. Yeah, he's already good.
There you go,
Hey, it was a
Deathshot.
question. I had to ask it.
That's true. He did ask it. Yes. There you go, Deathshot. Hopefully that answers your question. So he could be out there. We're just, you know, everybody's got to stay home, including him. So that's how that goes. I'm glad you did mention earlier when you said in the first few weeks you found it was really you found it tough to be productive and motivated, because I found the exact same thing. It's in my mind, I'm like, okay, look, I've got all this extra time. I'm at home now, so there's so many things I can get done. Like I have a short that I shot now quite a while ago that I'm like, it's going to be done, and I'm still determined to get it done. But I feel like, yeah, I don't know. There are times I just feel, I don't know. The word I've been using is sluggish, where it's just like,
Yeah.
you don't, I don't know.
Absolutely.
And I almost feel like
Absolutely.
while I'm I feel like I'm almost tired more, even though I'm getting more rest than almost ever before. I don't know. It's bizarre.
No, I think that's absolutely true, and it's something about that inspirational spark that sort of dimmed a little bit for now, and it's you know, the few things that I get done compared to what I used to, I have to just acknowledge that I should feel good about that, and not, you know, I put so much pressure on myself to go, and the you know, in New York the foot is always on the gas pedal, and so it's been interesting to sort of just step back a little bit and sort of reassess and maybe lower the expectations of myself, and that's made for a much more comfortable day, you know.
That makes sense. Yeah, just this is the time we're in, and try to enjoy some of that extra time, which is something that we don't always have. So that makes sense.
Or Scott, you can spend 10 minutes workout and then you'll have more energy to do it.
That's true too, I guess, right? Working out does give you more energy. I know. That's the
It
other
does.
thing. My workout has fallen down so much because I always worked out in the gym in my building, but all those amenities are closed, and so that's another thing. I just just haven't done that either.
No, it's absolutely true. It's very hard to motivate oneself to, go upstairs and improvise with the weights. You can't even buy weights in the sports stores because they're all sold out. So you have these like different colored elastic things you have to pull, and it's just not the same. And lying down in your rug to do abs, as opposed to the rubber mat at the gym. There's just something different about the whole
I have
feel.
a rubber mat, sorry.
Yeah.
Well, so good for you, right? So so there's something about that. But I had to take up running far more than I used to, just to not re-emerge as a hippo, which is not that easy.
Quarantine 15.
Yeah,
That's right.
exactly. Yeah, I think I wonder if I should. That's the thing, because I like to jog. I think I should start running because I was already jogging on the treadmill. Like I had this routine where like almost every day I go up, I've got my phone, I'm watching videos, and like, what it is that running outside just feels like it's so much more work. It's really not. It'd be exactly the same. But I guess I just need to.
It's actually, I actually find I actually prefer running outside now. I mean, I never really enjoyed running very much, but now after a whole winter on the treadmill, running outside is quite a joy, actually. It's only when it gets really windy it can get tough, but I discovered there are two apps that I use. One is I do step aerobics a lot, which is
Nice.
like just shows my age really, but with all those teachers, they have this app that it's called Tempo Magic Pro, and I'm not getting kickbacks. I'm literally spreading the good word about that app, where you can upload your own music and you can speed it up and slow it down so that you can run to a
That's
particular
awesome.
beat that you like. And it doesn't make it sound like Mickey Mouse. It's like, I don't know, the technology is just pure magic. I don't know how they do it, but it's great because then you can actually run to music you enjoy and you can run to a particular beat and you can speed it up and slow it down. So Tempo Magic Pro is number one in running outside. Get it?
Awesome.
And then I have this thing called Map My Run, which is also fun because it uses your GPS. It shows you where you run, how many calories you burn, the length of your run, and you can save your run. And so you can sort of have a history of your workout. So
Nice.
those two things combined makes running outside actually quite fun. So I recommend it.
I guess New
Awesome.
York isn't as busy as it normally is, so you have a lot more space to run to.
But for the last few months, I would have the option of going down to the river, which is what I usually would do, or do sort of the urban city run, which was really eerie, but also great at the same time. Running down Broadway with no traffic,
Oh,
with
wow.
no one around,
No taxis.
no taxis, no nothing, barely any people. Running with a mask, which is super uncomfortable, all the way down to Houston, and then out to Houston, out to the river, and then back up, and just get a sense of, you can even run up through Times Square for a period there. It was empty there as well, and Times Square is never empty.
Yeah.
So
It must have looked so bizarre.
Definitely bizarre. Out of a horror movie for sure.
Did that give you ideas for your next movie?
Well, I've been the party pooper that I've been like saying on Facebook to all my writer friends, don't fall into the trap of just writing a pandemic movie just because it's happening. Because trust me, if you have that thought, everybody else has.
Everyone, yeah.
So I'm sure, and then I got a lot of flack for that. And of course, listen, people should write whatever they want to write. I didn't mean it that way. I'm just saying, be aware that there'll be a lot of pandemic scripts emerging from this period, and so yours better be really special to emerge as something people will notice.
Yeah. Well, I think that's good advice because it's definitely accurate that there's a lot of people will have the same inspiration for the next little while. So yeah,
That's exactly what it is. Yeah. So you have to figure out what your own spin is, and you basically have to figure out what your point of view is about the pandemic, and then figure out a unique angle, right? Because even studios, I'm sure, are consulting with top writers how you can use this pandemic to come up with cool scripts. And so the only way you can compete with the big studios is to get such a unique idea that they haven't thought of it. And so you have to find your own way into what the pandemic means to you and make it really specific. I think that's your best shot.
That makes sense. In fact, speaking of, I guess, films and projects. We should talk about some of yours. The first one I wanted to ask you about is because your film Into the Dark. And the reason I wanted to ask you about it is because we met at Gen Con. And I remember we were chatting briefly, and I was at the time promoting my film Kessler Syndrome, which is about a spaceman in space. And I remember you said, "Hey, that's cool. Your first film is about a spaceman in space. I made this movie called Into the Dark, and why don't you tell us about Into the Dark?"
And it's also a spaceman in space. Yeah, it's Into the Dark basically came out of this notion of I've been an actor all my life, and at a certain point, it gets a little old that you're handing your power away to other people all the time, right? You walk into a casting office, you do your thing, and then you walk out crossing your fingers that they'll give you the gig. But it's not in your control. And I am a bit of a control freak, so I started writing to take some of that control back, because of course whatever I write, I've made, and it's mine. But then the lesson learned from that is if you don't write a script that you can make yourself, you still need other people's help. So the real power is to write something you can make yourself with your community. And that's where Into the Dark came from. Essentially, I wrote this short that I knew I could shoot in my apartment. I would have to build the set myself, but I had a great friend who's a wonderful DP, and together we made this sort of our fun little project, and we carried, plywood up I live on the fifth floor walk up in New York City, so plywood up the stairs and rubber mats and God knows what we needed for this space capsule thing. And then we shot it. We had plenty of time, which is the only luxury we had because it wasn't a big budget thing, but because we shot it in my apartment, we didn't need to be out by a certain day, so we could totally take our time with it. And then it just became this project, essentially the story of sort of two men strapped in back to back on a very odd journey from moon back to Earth. And you discover what the real deal is as the movie goes along. And it was incredibly rewarding to make that film and to share it with everybody. And it, as you know, having made your own film, gets to a point when you're editing and it's so close to yourself, you don't know anymore if it makes sense or if it's even watchable or if it's going to be really boring or confusing. And so when you then launch it and it gets a fantastic response, it's just incredibly rewarding to connect with everyone over such a project. So Into the Dark really set off many good things for my career. I got tons of work from that, and I got encouragement for writing. So in short, taking charge of your own destiny feels really good and can actually be incredibly helpful. So I would encourage anyone to do it if they feel a little stuck with where they're at, to sort of, what can I do to further it, rather than rely on agents or rely on that perfect job to fall into your lap. Just go for it. Try to make it happen.
Awesome. It's amazing hearing you tell the story, because it's so like the motivation for making my first one was pretty much the same. Like at that time, I didn't have hardly any demo footage for my reel, and so I literally made my film so I wasn't getting called in for a lot of speaking roles, because I guess there wasn't any video of me talking. So I guess casting people are like, well, if we only have a photo of this guy. So I made the film literally like, at least I'll have some dialogue so people can hear what my voice sounds like and stuff. And I don't know, it's funny hearing you talk about bringing the plywood into your, like, because I had to do all that. I filmed it in my parents' basement, though, is the only difference. So I had to go downstairs instead of up 5 flights of stairs, which is harder. But
right, but it's also, it's also a matter of, I mean, I've been an actor a long time. I'm a lot older than both of you, and it came to a point where suddenly I'd be on set and I'd be like, wait a second, they're putting the camera there, or I hear him talking to the other actor, and that direction makes no sense. So I started getting a sense of sort of where I would do things differently, and I hadn't had that sense earlier on in my career. So I was beginning to think, well, clearly I have my own sort of vision about things, how they should be done, and I started feeling more and more ready to maybe take on something as a director. So I think, one thing is just wanting to make a project to feel busy or to just challenge oneself, but it's also, I think it's important to figure out what your voice is, and if you really have something to say, because if you're not that type of person, then maybe it's just not for you. It's fine to speak other people's words and explore yourself that way. But I could definitely I can feel within myself I had something to say and something that I wanted to explore. With Into the Dark, it was this notion that we are all connected, although we like to think that we're just our own little strong entity fighting for our careers and lives and whatever we are. We do need that connectedness. And I'm not religious at all. I'm probably sort of super agnostic, if you want to call it that, bordering on atheist. But I do believe that we as humans have a connectivity to one another. And that's really what that film explores.
Very cool. Oh, my parents are both in the chat. They're just saying good morning. Good morning, Mom and Dad. And
Happy
Dad.
Father's Day.
Happy Father's Day, exactly. I just want to say Happy Father's Day. And Deathshot in the chat says, I'd like to make a movie one day. Lucas, do you have any advice? If somebody is starting out or wants to make a movie, what advice would you give them if they're just starting out? What's the first thing they should do?
Well, it depends on what their background is, right? Because you do need to develop a community of sorts. You do need friends who know what they're doing in terms of equipment even. You have to get to know a DP, a cinematographer who's willing to take out his camera and do some work for you. So it's basically a matter of, if you're an actor, then you go on a set somewhere and you start checking out the cast as you're filming, and then you start noticing the crew and you start picking out the crew members so you can see work hard. I can always tell the crew members who are there for the right reasons and the crew members who are there for the wrong reasons. And I can totally pick out the ones that I would want to work with and the ones that I would never want to work with. And so I think it's just a matter of early on, start noticing the people that could be helpful to you and that you get on with. And so if you have absolutely no contacts, that's what you would start doing. You would volunteer on some film set. Some friend who's shooting a film to say, listen, I would like to be a PA and help out on set one day. And then you start building out your little network of people. And then you have to figure out, do I have a script that I want to shoot? And who can I align myself with? And so it's really just a matter of figuring out what it is that you have to say and then start building up your little group of like-minded crazy people who want to make a short film, which is just essentially money out the window, more or less, for the sake of bringing something to life. That said, you can actually make some money from short films now that you couldn't just 5 years ago. There's a much larger platform for short films than there used to be. So there is distribution to be had, but mainly you have to think of a short film as an expensive calling card for what you're able to do, but B, also just a project of getting your art out there. If there's something you have to say, that's your way of doing it. And C, it's also your chance to get your specific vision without compromises out there. Because once you start doing feature films, there will be compromises made because the money will be bigger, producers will be involved. So short films really would be where you can be truthful to your exact vision.
Makes sense. There you go. Let's build that network to get started, because that's true. Even the smallest film. I mean, you can't do it alone. I mean, that's just the way it is. It's the nature of that type of art form. Jeffrey Ox, hey, welcome to the show where it's the Sit Down with Scott Dion Brown every Sunday, and today we're interviewing actor, writer, director Lukas Hassel. Well, next I wanted to ask you about I guess your next short film, which was The Son, the Father. So tell us about that.
Perfect for Father's Day.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. Wait until you see the film.
Oh, okay.
You
Never
may
mind.
want to take that back. So the Son, the Father was really it was a short script I'd lying around. I wasn't sure it was going to work because it was very unusual structure for a short script. It jumped in time, and I'm always like, listen, the best short film or the best short films are the simple ones. You don't cram too much in there. Don't try to avoid period pieces, because that's just a lot of money for nothing. And so it was sort of, it fell into a lot of these things where ordinarily it wouldn't make a good short film. So I just wasn't sure about it, and I sent it to somebody who read it and said, oh, you should totally make that. And I was like, well, I don't think I will. And then I submitted it to Holly Shorts Film Festival that have a screenplay competition, just as a thing. They get a lot of scripts and whatever. And by complete fluke, it ended up winning.
Wow.
I didn't even know. Somebody wrote a message on Facebook that had attached my name saying, well, I didn't win, but good luck to Lukas Hassel for winning. And I was like, wait a second, what? So I went in and checked. I won. Then I went back to Film Freeway to check what the prize was going to be if you won. And it turns out that it was getting a production deal. And I didn't quite know exactly what that meant. So I was like, okay, well, let's just see what happens. And I didn't really hear anything for 2.5 months. And then I get a phone call from Holly Short saying, well, congrats, and this is what the deal is. And we'll put you in touch with this production company in Seattle. This gentleman, Ben Andrews, has a production company up there with Lorraine Montez and Kyra Sipler and many other people up there. Anyway, so I got on the phone with them, and I had no idea what to expect. I thought, well, they may have $15 to spend, and is that really where I want to put my script? So I wasn't even sure if it was something I wanted to get involved with, because if they were going to spend $20 on it, I could do it better myself.
Yeah.
So I just wasn't sure. But anyway, Ben was incredibly open and incredibly encouraging, and I was like, this almost sounds too good to be true. They were
What's the catch?
What's the catch? We're gonna take a script and we're gonna produce it up here. We have to shoot it in Seattle. And I was like, okay, cool. And then we sort of took it from there, and they were above and beyond. They were just incredible. They would send me videos of locations, pictures of locations. How are these locations?
Nice.
I'm like, that's good. That doesn't work. Blah blah blah. Casting. We got a local casting group together. Angela DeMarco up there. Mighty Pod Productions, they would get involved with castings, and so I would basically Skype in like this, and they would have actors there, and I could, talk to them on Skype and watch their auditions, and then the casting agency would send me the videos afterwards so I could see what they looked like on camera. And so I basically casted long distance, and they did everything, and I flew up to Seattle 4 days before shooting and went to the locations with the DP and a set designer and AD that they provided me with. I hadn't hired them. I'd never worked with them before. And rehearsed with the actors, and then we shot for 4 days after that. And it was an incredible experience. It was really scary because I also acted in the film, and because I hadn't picked out the crew, I didn't have that second eye I could trust. So that was a gamble. But in the end, it worked out beautifully. The film turned out really well. It's a psychological horror about...
it's not a Father's Day kind of movie.
It's sort of the events on this kid's birthday end up having very dark, twisted consequences far into his future. And it premiered out in LA in the Chinese theater there, Holly Short's opening night, which was a big deal. It was probably the biggest opening for any of the films I've done, and it was a lot of fun to fly out there and be there for it. And again, it played in a lot of film festivals and opened up a lot of doors, really, including
awesome.
The deal for my first feature as a director. So that's really great.
That's awesome. So I guess it wasn't $20.
It was not. They put full efforts into this, and
that's awesome.
And then nothing but gratitude for Holly Shorts and the gang up in Seattle for making that happen.
Amazing. Deathshot says, you'd think they'd tell you that you won as soon as your film won. So...
Well, Deathshot, is that the name?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So Deathshot, yeah. You'll be surprised how sometimes a lot of these things are not on the ball, let's say, about announcing various things. There are things that I've discovered about my scripts or various competitions that I've sort of found myself on their Facebook posting or something that I don't get an email until weeks later. So, who knows what the deal is there, but the main thing is winning it anyway. I was happy about that. You're going to find out eventually, but yeah, some of them are not necessarily, they rely on social media to make their announcements, and then I guess it's up to you to find it. They don't always send out emails to everybody.
Yeah, and especially, I mean, the people who run festivals, I mean, there's so much communication that they have to deal with, so it's just
exactly.
It's easy for things to fall. Like I remember at the Dragon Con festival, I remember the one guy, he had a seminar at the end of his festival, which was all the filmmakers were invited. And he goes, okay, we put it at the end of the festival because in this seminar, I want all the filmmakers, you guys can tell us the things you don't like about film festivals, and we're going to tell you all the things we don't like about filmmakers. And it was like his way. Yeah, it was his
gosh.
it was his way. And one of the things he was saying was like, the first thing is that you guys don't read emails. I send out an email with all the information, and inevitably I'll get 50 replies asking a question that's also in that email. And I was just like, wow, this is...
Man.
It was actually a very helpful seminar, but it was funny to hear it from the other side of, stuff they have to deal with. So Death Shot in that regard, there's a lot of communication. So it's, stuff gets delayed and all that sort of thing.
I think I was actually at that session at Dragon Con as well, because I remember that. Unless he does it every year, because I screened there as well. So we may have sort of missed each other at that festival too. But a lot of these festivals have, a lot of them don't make money. It's almost non-for-profit, of course, and they have a limited amount of people to, send out thousands of emails. I mean, it's tough. So I totally get it. It's what it is.
Mm-hmm. That's how it goes, Death Shot. All right, let's Regine, let's do the ad break, and then we're gonna come back more with Lukas Hassel.
Sounds good.
All right. Well, today's episode of The Sit Down is brought to you by the following fantastic advertisers. Regine.
Yes, Scott.
Do you want to find out what your home is really worth?
Sure.
Are you buying or selling a home?
Maybe soon.
Well then, in that case, the realtor Jennifer C. at Home Life Culture Link is here to help. Call or text Jennifer today at 647-403-8887. Don't deal with just anyone. Speak to a professional, Jennifer C. at Home Life Culture Link. To see her current listings, visit homelifeculturelink.com. The Mortgage Godfather is here to give you advice with any mortgage needs you may have, and he will shop to find you the best mortgage. Nino Saimeka, mortgage agent. He'll give you an offer you can't refuse. Right. He'll give you an offer you can't refuse, Regine.
Yeah.
Find out more at mortgagegodfather.ca or call 905-604-6955. And it was brought to you by Jewelry Forever. Conveniently located at CF Markville Shopping Center on 5000 Highway 7 East Markham, they do custom-made jewelry, repairs, and they change watch batteries, all done on site. There's Jerry right there doing a beautiful handmade ring in that video. But and we have a very special deal with them right now, Regine, and they've just announced that they've opened up again. They've been allowed to open up again during this pandemic because I guess things are slowly opening up. But we have our deal with them, right, Regine?
Yes, we do. So if you guys go into Jewelry Forever and let them know that Scott and Regine sent you, you'll get 15% off your entire purchase.
That's right, 15% off, 15. Go on in there, let them know. And like I said, they just announced, I saw on Instagram, that they are open again. I think they have got like tape and stuff on the ground, so like it's a limited number of people can come in at a time, and they've done all the precautions, wear a mask, all that stuff. But go on into Jewelry Forever. And like I said, Jerry, who works there, he really is an artist. If you've got a vision of a piece of jewelry that you want, if you can imagine it, he can create it. So go check out jewelryforever.ca. And if you would like to advertise on the show, it's very easy as well.
Yes,
right,
it's so simple. Sorry, Scott. Yes, it's simple. All you guys have to do is email us at radioshowad@gmail.com.
That's right. Get in touch. It's a live show every Sunday. What does it mean that it's live? It means that if you've got an event or a sale or something specific coming up at any time, you can let us know, and we can let the audience know. Or a contest, exactly. We can let our audience know in real time. So get in touch. It's a great way to open up a brand new possibilities to your audience. I'm not sure why I'm having so much trouble reading that part, but get in touch. radioshowad@gmail.com, and we will get in touch with a new audience for you. And we are back. Hello. We didn't actually go anywhere, but we were reading. But we're here with actor, writer, director Lukas Hassel.
I love how you just sold those ads. I'm all in. You made them all sound very exciting.
There you go.
They are
See?
exciting.
Yes,
Incredibly
I need a
exciting.
mortgage right now.
Perfect. The mortgage godfather will make an offer you can't refuse.
There you go. Slightly threatening, slightly promising.
Exactly.
That's why he does it that way.
Yeah, exactly. One thing I wanted to ask you about was Mr. Milk.
Ah, yeah, Mr. Milk. Well, listen, Mr. Milk was just one of those things. Mr. Milk is, for those of you who don't know, and that would be most of the North American audience, I'm sure, is a character in Norway. He was like the guy for like 4 years in Norway. He was like the milk guy. So he was on all the, cartons and posters and ads and commercials.
Wow.
And it was a casting that had, as it turns out, Norway wanted this other worldly type character. So they had castings in London and New York. And I got called in for it at the time and ended up booking it and then shooting it over in Oslo and Berlin and LA.
Wow.
Shot campaigns. And it was just a sort of 3-4 year campaign of this character that doesn't wear a shirt, but he has like a white tuxedo jacket and he can do crazy things. He can dance on the ceiling and he can do ski jumps and he's all inclusive and a kind-hearted, fun guy. And so it was just a lot of fun to be Mr. Milk for 4 years over in Norway. And, I was recognized the craziest of places as Mr. Milk.
Mr. Milk!
Mr. Milk, exactly. And of course, the real deal, myself, I'm just disappointment because I can't dance on the ceiling. I can't, I had to, own the fact that there was some CGI involved here and there. But it was a really fun campaign. All the commercials are on YouTube, so go check them out if you feel like it. They're a lot of fun.
Scott showed it to me. I was
Yeah,
like, what the heck is this?
I sent a couple of them. Yeah, they're pretty hilarious. In fact, I've got a photo I'm going to show everybody. This is a picture of you. You're wearing the blazer. You're standing on what looks like a ski slope mountain, holding ski poles and skis. Really, really funny ads. I found, they kind of remind me of. They've got that feel of like the Old Spice guy.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
it's that
Yeah.
kind of. But
Exactly. It's that vibe for sure. And they made, apps, games. I have avatars of myself and
Stop. That's amazing.
I'm on towels. So I've been able to lie on the beach on myself. Hot.
That's awesome.
So it was one of the ads that was like ping pong balls bouncing off my abs supposedly, and so there are ping pong balls with Mr. Milk on it you can get.
That's awesome.
So it's just one of those. You do a lot of horrible gigs every now and then for money to sort of pay the rent, and then every now and then you get like a really fun gig.
And then you
that
get
was one of
Mr.
the good
Milk.
ones. Yeah, that was one of the good ones. Sure.
yeah,
That's so cool.
They must have been really fun to shoot with all the effects and things. And I saw there's one where you're dancing with that lady and you like throw her into the sky and then she comes back.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
the one
I
you
mean,
sent me.
That one was shot in Berlin in a really old, beautiful hotel in the ballroom space there, and that older lady was a star. She didn't speak English; she was German. And then they had, of course, the stunt people that could actually do some of those dance moves that I'm not able to do. And they had to make them up so I had my double, and then they had the old lady double who was actually a young lady.
What?
And
The
then,
lady didn't actually do a cartwheel?
right, exactly.
Wait, what?
And we also shot this like line dancing one, and I had to actually take dance lessons in New York before even flying to
wow.
Berlin to save time, so that I would know all the line dancing stuff before I arrived. And so there are just many really fun things. We did one where I'm sort of walking around on the wall and then on the ceiling and then back down, and that was actually shot in this set that they built that could spin.
Oh,
The
wow.
camera attached, so I would be inside it spinning,
Like a
five
hamster.
like a hamster, and it would spin 5 times before I had to come out of the set, and they would spin it back because the wires would be too twisted, and then we had to do it all over again. And that was insane because it's a lot harder than it looks.
Yeah.
To sort of walk in a square box that spins. And with various door openings, you don't want to twist your ankle. I still had to look at the camera while speaking Norwegian lines that I wasn't really comfortable with.
You're like, what am I even saying?
Because I don't speak Norwegian, right? So it was, but that was also part of the gimmick that they wanted someone to speak Norwegian with like an American accent or whatever. That it was obvious that it wasn't my first language. So
I was so curious because Scott sent it to me. He's like, "Oh yeah, we might talk about this," and I watched it. I was like, "What did I just watch?" But now hearing what Mr. Milk is all about, I'm like, "Oh, okay, I can get behind this now."
Yeah,
I want a ping pong ball.
right. And at one point, I think he had like 150,000 fans on Facebook or something. It was all these teenagers would write in with like, I have acne problems. What should I do? And Mr. Milk was like, "Oh, that's okay. You can do it." And he would send them like a thing about what you can do for acne, and like, so he was like, he had advice for everything. He was always kind and always good-natured and
that's awesome.
All embracing. So he was.
So did you actually sell milk?
It was a milk. Like milk is a very big deal in Norway. Like I think it's like the second largest company in Norway, and they have oil and gas, whatever. But milk is like a big deal. So, so they're known for their ads. This company milk, and so to them it's a big deal. I think they pride themselves that milk comes from the cow to the table in less than 24 hours or something like that. Like it's a very fast, fresh milk thing. So
awesome. Well, yeah. Anybody wants they're really funny commercials, guys. And
Mr. Milk.
Like I said, they're not in English, but I will say, watching them, like I didn't obviously understand what was being said, but for me that kind of almost adds to it because there's so much going on. I mean, like the skiing one, I just love. Like I laughed at the very end. Like you ski away, and then right at the very end of the commercial, like they have you do a backflip just to go off the. And it's just anyway. Find them on YouTube, guys. Search Mr. Milk, but search MELK. MELK, right? Not M-I-L-K.
Some of them have been subtitled by various people, so some of them are subtitled. But anyway,
perfect. Even better. So they're very funny. Deathshot says, "I like milk." Good. Yep. Hi, Isaac Linder. Welcome to the stream. We are watching.
I like milk.
We're chatting with Lukas Hassel. Deathshot says, "Oh, this was during the break. Break seems good for blueberry waffles. Anyone wants some?" Yes, Deathshot. We all want waffles. Please bring them and send them through the screen. And we'll have them. Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
Make sure you have some milk as well. I wanted to next ask you about, you've got some scripts that have been optioned, The Mechanic and Silhouette. So tell us about it.
Well, so as a writer, your main issue is you don't want to just write to the void, as I call it, which is like you can write, anyone can write. The problem is getting your script into hands that matter, right? Because you want to give yourself a chance at actually getting stuff made. So, what all these screenwriting competitions and all that can do for you is you can gather laurels or you can gather awards, and it'll just make it a little easier to get your scripts into hands that can actually make them happen. And that's what you want. Mm-hmm. And so, The Mechanic was really the first decent script I wrote, and it got some real traction. Nichols Fellowship is probably the biggest screenwriting competition, at least in the US. It's connected to the Academy Awards. If you're top 5 there, your career is sort of catapulted in a way. You can actually make a career from winning that, right? So it's really tough to place high in that. And Mechanic, at my first attempt, was like top 30. So it got a lot of attention from producers and managers and so forth. And that script got optioned by a director-writer out in LA, who's now a very good friend of mine, Charlie Stratton. And it's just, we've been trying to get that shot and get people interested. And it just goes to show that it's really, really tough to, particularly when you have a script like that that's sexual and violent and takes place in Northern Africa and Paris, and you're like, wow, okay, so a hardcore drama is not necessarily what a lot of producers are looking for, because they want that quick, easy script they can shoot for a little money, put a star in it, and make a bundle of money. So it's a long-term project. We've hit snags, and then we've been encouraged, and right now it's in a good shape. The script is being shopped around to talent to attach at least one name to help secure the budget we need. So that's The Mechanic. Silhouette is a script that I wrote, which is the only horror script I've written. But it was my short film, The Son, the Father, was a psychological horror. So I knew I was interested in writing something in that field. And so Silhouette came out of there, and has been the easiest script to get read by people that matter, because a lot of producers are looking for that horror script they can make for relatively cheap and a decent return. It's probably the easiest genre to get eyes on these days. And so if you're an emerging writer, consider that. Horror might be your best friend. We all want to write dramas, but it's very tough to get those picked up. So Silhouette, started doing really well in competitions and got the attention of some 2 female producers that had started a production company out in LA. They had seen my short films as well, as it turns out, so they were willing to not only option the script but also let me direct it. And that was my only sort of condition with that script, that I wanted to direct something, a feature. And so if they wanted to take on the script, they were going to have to take me on as well as director. And it's been a really great partnership. They've been very helpful with getting the script into a shape that we can actually shoot. Sometimes that's not the experience. You get notes from producers and you're like, that note, I don't even know what that means. So the notes can come out of left field, where these 2 women are very talented artists in their own right. And so their notes were spot on. And so I think together we've actually managed to create a good script. We were meant to start shooting this fall, and then COVID happened. So now we're going to shoot in the spring of 21. So yeah, we'll see. It's an exciting, dark script about a disabled mother of 2 who ends up having to fight for her children's life when one of them sort of befriends a demon in their mirror.
Cool. Wow.
Yeah.
So everybody keep an eye on that. Deathshot says horror seems like fun to make. I think it will be, Deathshot. Keep your eyes on that.
Yeah, I've as an actor, I've been pulled into horror quite a few times. I shot. There's a very prolific writer director, Rolf Konevsky, out in LA, who works with Esther Gutstein a lot, a producer, and they. I've been in 2 of their feature films, horror films. One was The Black Room with Natasha Henstridge and myself, and then Art of the Dead with Tara Reid and Richard Grieker. We shot out in Vegas last year, and both of those feature horror films are out on Netflix and all the platforms to check out. But they are a lot of fun to shoot, but they're also insane because of what you have to go through. In
I can only imagine.
In the Black Room, at one point, I had to sort of hump a wall, essentially, impregnate a wall in a basement with slime being poured down over me from a PA and a ladder above me, and that slime gets really cold really quickly, and it gets so there are challenges, but for sure a lot of fun.
How do you go about writing horror? Like, in my mind, because so much of horror is like how it's shot, right? Like, a scene is scary with the music and the angles and all that stuff. So when you're writing, do you have those shots in mind? Like, or how do you make the script itself feel scary, I guess? How would you go about writing horror?
That is a really excellent question, and it's one that I've really struggled with as well. So the short answer is I basically write horror like I would write a drama, because without characters you care about, without things that are really at stake, you can add all the special effects in the world and it's not going to be scary. The real scary part comes from compelling characters that the audience care about, and then the situations you put them into. So if you don't write them well, you have nothing. So there are different types of horror films. There are horror films where you have the Final Destination horror films, where it's basically gory, fun ways of killing people, and characters don't matter as much, but they're not truly scary either. It's just a spectacle, and it's fun to watch maybe, but you're not sort of sitting there feeling terrified. And in fairness, if you look at the horror genre, personally, I can probably count on one hand the amount of times I've seen a film where I've actually felt scared. I've enjoyed films, and I've intellectually I can see, this would be pretty scary, but it just doesn't really affect me. Every now and then these films come out that really sort of makes me nervous about turning the corner of the room, or actually I get my heart racing, right? And so so I think you have to write it with character and stakes in mind, but you also have to be clever about what works and what doesn't work. And sometimes things read scary on the page, but then when they're filmed, they're actually not, right? My script Silhouette has one of the gimmicks is, of course, this mirror, and there's a demon in the mirror and so forth. And we've seen a million horror films where you have this character looking in the mirror and the character looks away, but the mirror image does not look away, and all that stuff. And that's stuff that reads well on the page, but when you actually see it, it's a little hokey, or it's actually not that scary. So it is an interesting question about how do you actually write something that also would appear scary. And half the time, it comes down to sound is incredibly important. And, you would align yourself with a director who understands how to light horror and how to shoot horror particular ways. And so you just have, as a writer and as a director, you have to have a sense of how you want a scene to work. And then you would have to work together with your crew to figure out how to shoot that to maximize that scare that you had in mind. Jump scares are relatively easy, but building suspense that really is earned is very hard to pin down. It's really difficult. So, a lot of the times it's about reactions more than it is actual effects. It's about the build up to a certain thing that is the scariest, for me anyway,
I'm not a horror film kind of person, so I'm just like, oh, that'll scare me no matter what.
Right. I mean, for me, it's like The Shining is a classic. Surprisingly, a remake called The Ring with Naomi Watts. It's probably the last film I was really scared at. I thought that really, really worked. I thought the simple Paranormal Activities, the original Blair Witch Project, it just goes to show sometimes simple is less is more for me.
Makes sense. So yeah, like you were saying, when you approach it, you approach it like a drama, because I guess the characters, it makes sense, because if you want your audience to be scared, you need to be able to give them a character that you can kind of empathize with and feel what they're feeling, right? So I guess you got to write it like a drama, and then
right, exactly. And the task for myself was also, I wanted to write a horror that wasn't just horror for horror's sake. I wanted to write a horror that had something to say. Because if I'm going to spend my time on this project for 2.5 years, it has to be more than just entertainment. It also has to have something, for me personally, that means something. And in this case, it takes on the world of bullying, and then you have the format of horror film and demons and so forth. But bullying is at the heart of this story. Very
cool. So Silhouette, keep your eyes out for it, people. It's it's coming down the pipeline eventually, sooner rather, as soon as we get through the pandemic first, and
exactly.
Things can get back to normal. Jeffrey Ox says horror is the best type of movie. There you go.
There's something for everyone. Let's put it that way.
Exactly. Deathshot says, I like watching horrors with killers to guess who the killer is. Oh yeah, so sort of like more mystery type horrors. And Osmic, hey, welcome to the stream. You are watching The Sit Down with Scott Dion Brown, and we are interviewing actor, writer, director Lukas Hassel.
Mr. Milk.
And Mr. Milk. Exactly.
Mr. Milk.
Exactly. Right. What do you have? Do you have an acting job that's been your favorite or your most memorable? That one you always look back on, or one that stands out to you?
Mr. Milk, no good.
Well, the politically correct answer, but it's also one that I really mean, is that each project has something of its own value, good or bad. There are experiences on a set where you're like, wow, I never want to do that again, or sometimes you walk away from something thinking this was the pinnacle, and then you get another job and that's the pinnacle. So everything has different challenges and rewards. In general, I will say, like, a lot of the people that are not in the business think that all those TV shows must be incredible, and not to insult anyone, it's just the TV gigs for me are probably the least interesting of the jobs that I've done. They're great for exposure, and it's good money, don't get me wrong about all that, but as an actor, it's not that rewarding just because you don't have time for rehearsals. It's a very busy set on TV because money talks and have so many things to do. So it's basically pretty much what you did at the casting is what you come in and do on the day. And so while it's been amazing to be up close with some of these celebrities you've seen through the years and whatever, and it's rewarding that you pulled it off and that you'll see yourself on TV and so forth, the fun projects for me have always been indie work, where I get to connect with the writer, with the director. You can sit down, you can figure out your character, you can actually explore different avenues. I get to rehearse with really cool people, great actors, and collaborate with those folks. And then you go on set, and sometimes it's a little nickel and dimey, and you stay in a grotty hotel room somewhere. For me, it was never about the money anyway. If I was about the money, I would be in the wrong industry for sure. I would have become something else. So for me, it was always about connecting with visionary people that really had something to say, and then just get some fun experiences. I mean, I love what I shot a great film down in Shreveport, Louisiana. When would I ever find myself in Shreveport, Louisiana, if it wasn't for a gig?
Where is that?
That is like sort of out in the outskirts of Louisiana, sort of top west, somewhere up there.
Somewhere there.
Super muggy, super hot, but some wonderful people. Lorraine Portman wrote a great script. Kyle Kleinecke directed this little short. But these great actors, and so so you go all over in different venues, and so there are different films I can look back on and say, well, that film actually helped my career. And you can say that has value, or I can go back and look at films where I just had the best time every single day on set, and that has value. So it's hard to answer your question exactly about sort of one film that stands out more than the others. I mean, meeting a good friend of mine now, Natasha Henstridge, was incredibly inspiring, because she has had a lot of success, and we've done 2 films together, and she's just learning from her, watching her on set, not just being a great actress, but also just being a really kind person around crew and cast, and also knowing what she will put up with and what she won't put up with, has been one of those experiences that still stays with me today. Just seeing how she handles, her status has been great as well. But I just shot a film with Jeremiah Kipp, who's a writer-director I've known for a long time. We've done many films together. We just shot a feature film called Slapface. Slapface, which I was part of a very early reading of that script. It's a monster movie. And the monster was female, a very tall monster, whatever. And for some reason, I ended up reading that in a reading at some point. And I remember saying to Jeremiah, I said, if you ever get to shoot this, I would like a crack at this monster, because I'm a decent looking guy, and so I get cast sometimes just by looks as well, right? So this monster would be a chance to attack a character very differently, because I would be in special effects, makeups and prosthetics and so forth. I would have to not rely on that in any shape or form. So I was really intrigued by this notion of playing the monster, and so it happened. So in December, up in Fishkill, upstate New York, we got to shoot Slapface, and it's in post-production right now. And someone like Jeremiah Kipp is almost like a mentor of mine. He's a writer-director, works all the time as a filmmaker. And being on set with him is every day is a learning experience. I just sort of sit back and watch what he does and how he handles actors. He's an actor's director. I mean, you both know those type of people that it's not just about the shot and the lighting, but it's actually what the actors are doing. Because if the actors aren't doing the right thing, you're not going to have a film anyway. But a lot of filmmakers forget that, I think. And so he really takes the time with actors. And so it's a very comfortable feeling being on his set, because you're not going to be sort of forgotten, and he also lets you do your own thing if it works. He's not going to come in with directions just to hear his own voice, and so so it's a mix of everything. Because I've been in this field for so long now, it's relatively easy for me to pick out what type of filmmaker I'll be working with when I get to set or to the rehearsal space. You can get a sense of, oh, this is a director who's fine with me popping in a question, going, exactly where am I coming from right here? Do you want me? Yeah. And other directors fear those questions. You can tell they panic, and they're not looking for any type of feedback or questions. So then you have to sort of maneuver your own way and try to just protect yourself and figure out, how can I do this? So, you figure out who you're working with pretty quickly, and then you adjust accordingly. And that's what experience has done for me. So different experiences. Yeah.
Awesome. Deathshot says, I can tell Regine likes the Mr. Milk a lot.
Sure.
Yeah, I have a feeling Mr. Milk would like Regine a lot too.
I got questions for Mr. Milk. How do I get rid of acne?
Right. Exactly.
Excellent. Anybody else? Yeah. So all of you guys, thank you for tuning in. This has been a lot of fun. Yeah, we've already been going for wow, I didn't realize we were already over an hour. We've been chatting. That's amazing. What? I mean, we have already got any of you got films that you've got optioned and you're working on. But what is next for Lukas Hassel?
Well, so the overall trajectory for me is that acting is still, a huge passion of mine. That's what I've always done, and I love acting. But my trajectory is definitely towards directing stuff that I've written myself, because I do love being in control of my own work. I do love to assemble talented people myself and not be beholden to others as much. So in the long term, it's definitely as a filmmaker of my own work. I'm not necessarily interested in directing other people's writing, but my own stuff. So also in the writing world, the filmmaking world, there's a lot more focus on TV now than there used to be. So if you want to be taken seriously as a writer, you really need to have at least one pilot and TV show in the works somehow. So last year I decided to jump in and give a pilot a shot.
Wow.
So I took a feature screenplay of mine, a post-apocalyptic script called Galapagos, and adapted it into a pilot, which was one of the hardest things I've done, because writing a pilot is incredibly difficult and very surprisingly very different to writing a feature screenplay.
What's a pilot
So
for someone that's not in?
Sure. So a pilot essentially is like the first episode of a TV show.
Okay.
Right. So if any of the TV shows you see there, at some point, somebody went into a studio executive office with a pilot in hand and pitched it and say, this is what my show is, and blah, blah, blah. And if you want to read it, here's the first episode type thing. And then, if they want to hear more, you can describe year 2 and year 3 of your series and so forth. But the pilot is that first episode, and that's why sometimes when you watch TV shows, the first episode is quite different to the rest.
Yeah.
Because you're setting up your world, you're setting up what the show is going to be about, you're setting up what the season is going to be about, you're setting up what the episode is going to be about, you're introducing your characters. So it's a whole different puzzle to a feature screenplay of putting a pilot together. But you kind of, at this point, you've got to have it in your bag. So it took me probably a year and a half to create a decent pilot, and I think now it's in great shape, and we're shopping around in LA currently with some good people there. So hopefully that's a show that could happen, sort of post-apocalyptic, very dark show, which is something that I would like to see. So Galapagos may be something that could be happening as well.
That's awesome.
But it's just in this industry, as you know, Scott, you're doing your show here. You're also acting, and you made your own films. You got to have a lot of balls in the air. It's a lot of spinning plates. The more strings in your bow, the better off you are. So it's about not resting on your laurels and just try to get better in every field you're involved with. So, I'm still learning in every single thing I do, whether as an actor or writer, as a director. I'm constantly trying to improve. And so that's the trajectory for myself. It's just to keep working on my craft as a writer and as a filmmaker, especially as an actor. I feel like I've done it for so long that at this point it's hard to teach an old dog new tricks. But in writing and filmmaking, there's endless opportunity for improving. So I'm just sticking with that, and we'll see how all that goes.
Awesome. Where people want to follow along your actor, writer, directing journey, where can people find you?
Well, so there's my website, Lukas Hassel, LUKASHASSEL, so lukashassel.com. And I'm also on Instagram and Twitter, and I post sort of news about competitions that I maybe have won, or films that I'm about to be in, or collaborations that's happening currently. So I'll be posting anything there. Feel free to send me questions or notes or anything. I'm always happy to connect with new, fun, interesting, creative people.
Awesome. So Lukas Hassel, and I've got a link to his Instagram in the description down below, as well as to your YouTube channel as well. I put the link to that.
Oh, that's great. Yeah. That's great.
And I'll-
Yeah,
and I'll-
I've taken to doing these stupid reaction videos lately. I call them stupid just because a lot of people don't get it, but I've actually enjoyed watching other people's reactions on various things that I love, and it's one of the guilty pleasures of mine. And so I thought, okay, maybe I should do a few reaction videos to music videos or something. So I've started doing a few of those on my little YouTube channel that, like, up until 3 weeks ago had, 17 followers, and all of a sudden it's like, because of these reaction videos, you get a lot of support. The numbers have grown a lot, so I think I'll be doing some more of that.
You should do a reaction video to some of Scott's videos then.
I think maybe I should.
His 1,000 subscriber indie. You should do a reaction on that one.
Will do.
So there you go. Follow him all those places, and I'll add your website as well to the description once we finish the show. So follow his journey there. And Regine, where can people find you?
You guys can find me on Instagram and Facebook and Twitter at It's Regine Alaina. And of course, since you're mentioning YouTube, I'll plug mine in as well. I will have a video. I know I haven't posted anything as of recent, but with everything going on in the world, I thought I'd take a break. But I do have the results for my 2-week ab workout challenge coming up within, let's say, this time next week. Let's keep me accountable. So follow me. I know Scott put the link in the description, so please subscribe and like my videos. Lucas, if you want to do a reaction video to one of mine, feel free to do so.
I would like to have either one of you or both of you in my closet section at one point. That would be fun too.
Yeah,
sounds good.
I'm totally down for that. Definitely.
Cool. That's awesome.
And finally, you can find me right here where you're watching this
Scott,
show.
where can we find you?
That's okay. You can find me right here where you're watching the show, either on YouTube, youtube.com/ScottDionBrown. You can find me on twitch.tv/ScottDionBrown or dlive.tv/ScottDionBrown. Or you can follow along on Instagram and Twitter right here, Scott Dion Brown. Or you can find me on TikTok at Scott Dion Brown Official. And whoever took Scott Dion Brown, if you're not using it, I'd appreciate if I could have it. That'd be nice. But in the meantime, find me at Scott Dion Brown.
Literally
Official.
everywhere.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Search
Yes.
Scott Dion Brown, you'll find me on one of the things. And yes, but this was a lot of fun. Lucas, thank you so much for being on the show.
Oh, it's been an absolute blast. I just want to quickly point in as well, a couple of guys. There's a show I did with Deborah Markovich. It's going to come out soon as well, so look out for that too. I just want to make sure I pop that in there.
Perfect.
But yeah, you guys have been amazing. Thank you so much for reaching out, having me on. You're really great, and I'll be watching listening and watching your show from here on out for sure.
Thank you. Oh, if you guys are interested in listening to our show, since he mentioned listen, you guys can find us on Spotify, right?
Oh, yeah, that's
Scott?
right. That's true. Yep, that's right. You can listen to all the episodes since, I guess, we started doing them in the new studio in November. So they should all be up on there. So yeah, you can. That's right. I always forget to mention that as well. That's right. You can listen on Spotify. So all you people who are here, the internet is a large place. You could have been anywhere. You could have surfed all the places across the world, but you chose to spend your Sunday morning with us. So for that, we're very, very grateful. And we'll see you all again in 1 week's time for the next episode of The Sit Down. And,
but before we go,
yeah,
we want to also wish all of the fathers who may have tuned in or are watching a little bit later a very happy Father's Day. It's not just to the dads, but it's to the dads, the stepdads, the grandfathers, the soon-to-be dads, and the moms that are playing the mom and dad role. So, happy Father's Day to all of you.
Happy Father's Day, yeah.
And for all of those who are celebrating Pride, happy Pride Month, and we will see you guys next week. There you go, Scott. Now you can finish.
There you go. Regine, that's why you're the best co-host in the galaxy. All right, everybody. We'll all see you again real soon. Lucas, take care of yourself. And
thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Bye.
Happy Pride to my husband.
Happy Pride.
Happy Pride. Bye.